So it's 3:33, and no, recently I was led to watch the Squid Games. When it first came out, I think it was like a craze about it, and a lot of people was watching it, and they even spoke about it. Come on, bruh. Come on, dog. And I took a peek at it, but I wasn't interested in it. Like, come on, bro. I'm not gonna watch that. I'm not about to watch this, man. You know. So, I was just led to watch it, and I watched, all the seasons. As you can see, it went from 2001 to 2025, and you understand what's here, So what I started to do was I seen the correlation with the Squid Game and how how they was targeted and the people was chosen and selected to be in these the Squid Game. You know, it was it gave me some sort of idea that this isn't just a regular TV show. It's actually saying something, and there's always some sort of wisdom to gain from anything, whether it's a TV show, a cartoon, a movie. But in here, it referenced a lot of gang stalking and how the people was selected. They was targeted because they had a certain financial barrier, and everybody that was in the games, they were invited there due to their financial disadvantage. They was either in debt, owed a lot of money, or they was just poor. So this is probably how some people get targeted. Because they did have two sides. There was you seen that they was, if you watch the show, if you haven't watched it, I suggest you watch that show because it has a lot of symbolic, is a lot of symbolism in it. Even this picture alone has symbolism in it. This is the checkered board. Who makes the checkered board. And back here it has the money, the people competing for a certain release from financial hardship. And then back here you have nine of the watchmen in the game. You have these people, and those would actually be the workers. The workers, and then you have the players, and then you have those that are I want to say the what you call the VIPs. They're the ones that are thrilled by the game in itself. So you have nine players there, and what this nine is one, two, three, one, two, three, one, two, three. So it's three, three, and three. So everything deals with symbolism. And then you have the pig, which the money is actually in the piggy bank or whatever it is. But the pig symbolizes filth. And how dirty are you willing to get for that money. So in the Squid Game, it's all about what are you willing to do to get out of financial hardship? Because when you look at anybody that claim to be targeted, they're never the rich. The rich is never amongst the people that's saying that they're experiencing any kind of gang stalking. It's always somebody that seems to be, you know, at a certain financial level. So when if you're in debt, if you're a person that has a lot of debt, and or just might be from an impoverished community, you would be looked at as a prime candidate and one that would be chosen to be targeted for what are you willing to do to alleviate your state of brokenness. And then you have the gang stalkers, and the gang stalkers, like I told you as well, they're no different than those that are targeted. They're gang stalkers. They're targeted because of a certain thing that they have. Their willingness to do whatever it is to get currency, or to get out, or to have a certain social status. These people are um, no different than those that are targeted and made to believe that the whole world is against them. And you know, in the program, in the Squid Game, it had both. It had those that were um, willing to do anything, it's even sacrifice a child, and you had those that were willing to suffer just being poor at the expense of not wanting to be in the game. Like, son, I don't want to play this game anymore. Let's leave. And you had people that didn't want to leave and wanted to play the game, for um, a certain a certain reward. So that's what I got from watching that um, that series. And like I said, it's still up and running for you to watch it if you haven't watched it. This was something that I'm not even interested in, this type of genre. Like I told you before, my thing is horror movies, and I watch horror movies because that's something I used to watch with my father. And we was kids. Me and my brothers were kids, and my father would watch stuff like Night of the Living Dead and Return of the Living Dead and Day of the Dead, and we was you know we was bonding with him while we watched the movies. And at any given moment he could say, "Oh, this is too graphic. Y'all go in the room." So we used to sit there and be quiet and just, what I mean. And because he, like I said, he was a righteous man. So you wouldn't want to expose children to too much graphic or horrific sights, and because it'll have an effect on them, going to sleep and having nightmares and stuff like that. So at any given moment, he could have had a scene, or it would have been something that was shown that it was too graphic. So he could have sent us to the room at any given moment. But that's something that he didn't do. He didn't. He never. I believe maybe on a few of them he did, but at a certain time he just let us watch with him. So that was cool. And we used to go and get the VHS tapes with them, and like when Blockbuster was open and they had other um, rental stores, and we used to go with them to look for the movies and stuff like that. So it was kind of like bonding with us. So that's my thing, like horror movies. And this ain't really a horror movie. This is a psychological thriller, and it has a lot of emotional turn points because you see friends, turning on each other, um, which gives you, the theme of betrayal. There was a lot of betrayal in there. You had family turning on each other, mother and son, and you had people that was like the star. I guess he's the star, but he's the person that won the first game, and he could have took his money and left, but he felt obligated to try to put an end to the program because a lot of people didn't know about the program, didn't know what it all entailed. And like I said, it's a secret thing that went under radar, and he tried to shed light on it. And he didn't have to, but he went back in and tried to, put an end to it. Try to put an end to the games, once and for all. But he wasn't able to do that because, as you've seen in the end, they went from where they was at. I believe they in South Korea, and South Korea is the same thing as over here. I believe South Korea is like the American Asia. It's real democratic, and they have certain things similar to United States. So I think that South Korea is like America of the East. That's what I believe. I don't know, but I do know that they have a huge presence of um, those people over there, and they had it there for a long time. I believe since like 1908 they had an establishment over there. So we do know that they're not unfamiliar with the program. With especially if everybody is all agree that Masons are a part of the program, and they could be the ones that build the game. Like the whole world is a game. It's a game, not just for the people targeted, but for everybody. But for everybody, it's we're dealing with games. Even working is a game, and inside of the game there's a lot of groups and cliques. This where you have, if you're a single player, the groups could mob up against you, like we seen in the last episode. The dude was by himself, and they targeted him because they said that he was a drug addict, that they was going to target him and get rid of him, and then we'll worry about the other guy that's protecting the child. So we'll take him out, and then we'll target them. But these are groups and cliques that are formed in there because they believe that if you roll with the stronger group, you'll have a better chance of surviving. And when the groups are put against each other, they have no honor. There's no honor amongst thieves. So these are the most dishonorable people, those that are in groups. So inside of the game, in this reality, you would see groups, and the stronger the group, the more chance they have for survival. And that's the thing, money, it doesn't buy happiness. It just strengthens your ability to survive. That's all it does. It's just a means of securing your survival. Come on, dog. Come on, bro. Come on, dog. Come on, bro. Dog play too much. See, my dog. See, cat. He's a sovereign being. My cat is sovereign because he knows that he has rights. At times, he's like, yo, son, what are you doing? Like, yo, you can't touch me. So he knows that he's a sovereign being. He knows that he can do, he has a right to do certain things, you know. And you go to pet, I go to pet him sometime. He be like, "Yo, son, what are you doing?" "Oh, I." Like he knows that you really can't do whatever you want because people believe that their pets belong to them, but they don't. They are an extension of you. And like I said, you have to be a servant of them. But yeah, my cat is cool. My cat don't bother anybody at all. That's why nobody can bother my cat. And the thing about that is my cat don't have any blood on his hand. He hasn't killed the mouse, hasn't killed the bird, hasn't killed the squirrel. So he's good. He's been protected and shielded from all that. I don't know about his past lives, his other, 8 lives or whatever he did then, but this time around, he's been in the house. And I even tried to bring him out the house one time, and he would not go outside. So he has never been outside, and that's cool. You would want a cat to run around and enjoy itself, but you know, that's one thing that I can associate with him is that he hasn't bothered anybody, so nobody has a right to bother him. You know, you know, and that's just something I wanted to, just state that because, cat, my dog could do. I said my dog could do. Dog could do whatever he want to do, man. And nobody's gonna bother him, cause he's good. He's good. But that's one thing that I seen. Just watching this. That this is like, this is gang stalking. Because they know everything about the people that are in there, everything about them. And how do they know everything about them unless they was watching them? And they seize the opportunity to engage them in a game. I guess it's called Dochi or something like that. Whatever that game is, they engage them in one of the easiest games, and they see what they're willing to do for the money, if they're willing to experience some kind of hardship for it. And you have some that are, so down on their luck that they'll allow themselves to get slapped, slapped around for just to win a game, just to compete, and that's that's something to think about. What are the gang stalkers or people that gang stalk you? What is it that they had to see in a gang stalker in order for them to um, initiate them into the gang stalking program? And what is it about a targeted individual that permits them from being a gang stalker? And like I said, sometimes it's to break you into becoming one of them, or um, it's either to break you to leave out of here. You see here, you see the boxes. You see these boxes over here. And that's what it's what the game is all about. It's a life or death game, and it that's what, like I said, it's not just restricted to America. It's everywhere, and this is something that's done globally. That's why I said this is a world order. If this is over there, and it's not just over there but over there, and it's over there and everywhere else, like everywhere you see, you can see the same symbolism. So it's a global thing where you're not just limited to America, or even with the Venezuelan president. All this stuff is just a part of a game. And what you have to understand is that in order to for the game to be valid, everybody has to agree to play the game, you know. And if the majority of the people says they don't want to play the game will be over. But because there's more people that want to play the game than it is that don't want to play the game will, keep going on. And that's the same thing with the gang stalking program. Like I said, for me, because I know that you have a sovereign right. You're a sovereign being, so it's over with when you say it's over with. And this is still prolonging because the people wanted to prolong. Whether it's the people that's um, the gang stalkers, because they have a, a, a certain thing that they acquire from the program. When we're talking about gift cards or whatever, we do see. I've seen a couple of people that I know that got gift cards. See, the money is given away because it doesn't have a paper trail, and gift cards is a way for you to not need for you to have where did this money come from? What's the source of this money? Where did this money generate from? So gift cards and stuff like that, it alleviates the need for you to do any kind of investigating and prying. So when you have a card and it has millions of dollars on it, that doesn't need any kind of tracing back to where those funds came from. It'll just be what it is. Now, if all that money was deposited into your account, into your personal account, then that leaves a paper trail. But when you're given a certain card and that card already has money on it, then that doesn't need any kind of investigating into where the money come from. So that's what we seen. They was given that money on a particular visa, and I've seen people that I know that was a part of the program that I suspected being a part of the program have gift cards. They even asked me to activate the card for them, and I'm like, son, where did you get this gift card from? Where the hell did this gift card come from? But these are those that you already suspected. The thing about suspecting and accusing is different. When you suspect somebody, you like, son, because they mess with them and they're always secretive, they could be in, but if they're not, have no association with them at all, then you'd be wrong to suspect it. But because you suspect them interacting with this person or that person, then you would have to put two and two together. And that's one of the things that I generally do. I put the pieces together, and I formulate my opinion off of that. And sometimes your opinion becomes fact through the other fact finding. So we do see, even when we go into the just the characters, you'll see a lot of symbolism in them. Like, this is who they actually are in real life. You would see the hand signs. You would see the peace signs, the one sign. You would see all these symbolism with these characters, so that they are associated with this in some sense. If they wasn't, they wouldn't be able to make a movie about it. Especially using the shapes. The circles, the pyramid, and the triangle. This is everything that the square and compass creates: circle, square, and triangles. Dog, could you stop messing with those chairs back there, bruh? That's what they actually make. They make circles, squares, and triangles. And like I said, this is the ancient tool that it doesn't just begin with them. This comes from ancient Babylon. So we do have to acknowledge the origins of everything that is is being used today. If it doesn't have um, a origin that stems from modern day, is something that was created yesterday, then is normally something that was, created yesterday. And if it was created yesterday, then it comes from those those periods. So this is nothing more than the same game that's being played, the same, sacrifice and child sacrifice and sacrifice of loved ones, and sacrificing others, and that's the game. That's the game that's being played. And you saw in there that all the deaths, they lead to organ harvesting. It's a secret. It's a subgroup that does a lot of organ harvesting, and they would take organs from people, but they had to keep them alive, so that the organs could remain fresh, and that's something that I told you about, the Kanika Jennings case. She had to be in a freezer to keep her organs safe. This is the reason why she had to be lowered into a freezer. Nobody just stumbles into a freezer and that's, that's the place where you just decide to pass out at. Come on, dog. Come on, man. This is organ harvesting, and these are the ways of the world, like I said, it's the beast system, dog eat dog world. What are you willing to do for that, that piggy bank? Are you willing to get filthy like the pigs that you are for this currency? Are you willing to kill off your neighbor? Are you willing to not love your neighbor, as you love yourself for this money? So we are dealing with that, that particular game, and it's been going on for ages and centuries. It's the same age-old practice, of sacrifice. It's just sacrifice, and people don't even understand the severity of what they sign up for, and when they do, by then it's too late. By then it's too late. So what I do see online is that a lot of people that are that are influenced by a certain status, or a certain artist, or people that are well off, they tend to exhibit certain qualities of those people, and then once they start exhibiting these qualities, they end up losing a child, a son, or a brother or a cousin. I see that online, and then you start seeing them showing their Masonic rings. You start seeing that, like literally. I can show you a page right now, where one of the person's cousin, and these could be some of my family because I'm related to them, but there's certain family members that we never interacted with, but these could be some of my family members. So, and not only that, but one of the dudes, he when probably around about 9, 8, I thought he looked like R. Kelly. So I thought the dude kind of looked like R. Kelly. So I asked him like, "Yo, son, don't KDL look like R. Kelly?" And they started looking at me crazy. It was like, "Nah, you don't look like R. Kelly." They like, "Dog, you look like KDL." Like, hold on, dog. And then, years after that, people started to say that I look like R. Kelly. So I know I don't look like no R. Kelly, but I always thought Cuz looked like R. Kelly, And I seen somebody with his name online, but he kind of looked a little bit different. But he's from the same hood, and he had his ring on. He was showing it, and then he showed a picture of one of his cousins, and his cousin was missing, and then everybody was looking for him. This was when they started to show a lot of these fake missing people, and then they would pop up again like, oh, they've been found safe. Like I said, at one point in time, they would show missing people, and then the people found, just to give you an idea that this is common. Everybody's going to be missing eventually, because they look at how many people was missing, and then they find them, But this is all part of the psychological program of making you believe that this is a common thing when it's actually not. When a person come up missing, sometimes that's normally it, especially when they're a targeted being. If you're targeted, for a particular group, then you normally, they normally, So I seen him, and the person that they was looking for, he ended up, deceased. And how coincidental is that you're that, and then your cousin is missing, and then then it's R.I.P. him, and you got a lot to say about him. Then I seen a female, from out his circle, where something happened to her son. At first it was all he was he was a pretty outstanding kid. He was outstanding. Not only this is, like I said, happens a lot. He's a pretty outstanding kid. Where you seen that he wasn't just he wasn't, he was different. He was a different kid. And his mother was one that always wanted to be at every party and be seen and flaunt herself, and next thing you know, she's RPing her son. And when she did, the dude showed up on the post, was like, yeah, I know how you feel. So we're dealing with a lot of this. Come on, bro, this is not coincidental, bro. It's not no coincidence, bro. It's not. We're dealing with a lot of sacrifice, a lot of people sacrificing their loved ones to be a part of something that just ain't right. And that's disgusting. If you don't understand how for real, like, son, for real, do you understand what that means? You understand, like, son, for real? That's the if this is something common, and I'm literally telling because I know that everybody is associated with that. Do you know how disgusting that is as a human being? As a human being. And that's the thing. These people have done it themselves, so they want to see how you will respond in situations like that, because they know they're dead wrong. These are people that know they have a history of being, that is immoral. So in order for them to feel justified in their actions, they have to make sure, is the next person like me? Will they do what I did? And that was one of the things that this particular dude did to Jihan. Jihan was offered a knife to slit the people's throat in their sleep, and he was going to do it. And as he was doing it, he was watching it, because this is what he did. So he was watching them to see, like, son, am I wrong? Is everybody else like me, or is there actually some good in humanity? Is there good humans? Any good and decent human wouldn't do that. An animal would do that, would slice a person's throat in their sleep. Even if they knew that they was going to do it to them, they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't be the aggressor. They would be the person that defends themselves from that, but they wouldn't be the aggressor of it. They wouldn't be the one that conspired to do it. And if they did, they wouldn't be able to go through with it, you know. So, he was watching him as he was about to do that. And if you ain't see it, this ain't really a spoiler because I'm kind of like freestyling and not giving you the actual picture and image of it. But he was watching him as he was about to do it, and then his conscience spoke to him like, "Son, you're a good man. That's not you. You don't do that." So he didn't do it, and not only that, he weighed out the his options, and if he would have did it, if he would have did it, he could have. I mean, he could have won the game right then and there, but it would have been underhanded. His victory would have been an underhanded loss, and that would have added more guilt to his conscience. But because he considered himself doing the right thing, he had a justifiable reason for being in there. He wasn't there for money. You got to understand, everybody else was in there because of their financial hardship. His reason for being was he wanted to end the program. So, this is where you had an imbalance at, where anybody and everybody would have done anything to get something. He had a goal, a certain purpose that succeeded, that exceeded their purpose. It exceeded their purpose because if he failed, then the program would have been persistent, which he ended up failing, but he made a statement. And not only did he make a statement, but he he sacrificed himself, in order for another to live, as opposed to sacrificing others so he could live. So he made a statement, and that kind of put or gave an impression to the people in the program. They wasn't ready for that. That was unheard of for them. Like I said, there's a group of people, super rich, super billionaires, super whatever they got, they own the money. So these are the bankers. And throughout the history of this world, you see the bankers behind a lot of ills in the world. Like I said, even when you go back to Nazi Germany, there's the trail of the bankers that financed Hitler. And those bankers and those financiers were the same people, the same exact people financed, that. So there's a people that has a history in this world that get a thrill and a kick out of the inability for humans to be humans, and you don't understand it nor get it because we're still living inside of a bubble. And until you bust that bubble and see what's outside of it, you're going to not understand it. But some of us, we do see and understand it. We do see that and understand it. And not only that, we've been exposed to it and been, subject to a lot of these things. Like I said, on numerous occasions, there was events that I had to escape from. That I had to actually, be tapped on my shoulder like, yo, get out of there, or else, that's that. So when a lot of people sign up for these particular things, it don't be them that has to do it. It doesn't have to be them that do it. It's just a systematic thing. You sign up for it, and next thing you know, that happens. And at any given moment, I'm still aware that these people, they have no let up. These are people that don't take defeat. They don't believe that they can be defeated. So when you're a person yourself that seems like you can't be defeated, that kind of is threatening to their whole their plan, their the way that they normally operate. Hold on, dog. He can't be defeated. We can't be defeated either. Like one of us is going to have to submit at some point in time. We're going to have to submit. You're either going to have to submit to righteousness, or wickedness going to have to overcome you. Something's going to have to give, and that's just the way that goes. And as it stands, I'm I'm not submitting to wickedness at all. you know. And that's what we wanted to tell you about, some things, you know, this is just the way that I am, and it's the way that I'm always going to be. In any lifetime that I come back, I'm not going to be wicked, not wicked now, then come back wicked tomorrow, then not be wicked the next day, then come back and be, it's going to be the same way in every lifetime, And if these particular games are going to be persistent, I'm always going to be adverse to them. I'm never going to be the one that say, okay, where do I sign at? Never going to be that one, never, and we never say never, but that's just how, some people's spirit is set up. My spirit, I couldn't live, knowing that I got down on the next one to live. There's people that can live, can sleep comfortably at night knowing that they got down on the next one to come up, and this is the reason why there's an ongoing thing, because they'll feel more comfortable knowing that the next person is like them, and that's the only way that you can be amongst them, knowing that you're just like me. I had to give up my daughter to get here. What did you have to give up? I gave up my grandmother to live here. Okay, you one of me. What did you have to give up? I gave up my brother to be up here. What did you give up? I gave up my nephew and my niece to get up here. Or I gave up my mother to get up here. Or I gave up my son to get up here. I gave up my father. So it's always a network of people that have something in common, and until that is no longer a thing that's shared in common, then that's that is it's always going to exist, because it exists now. It exists now, even in biblical, even it's biblical. It's people that did certain things that's recorded in the history, and because it's the Bible, we want to say that everything is factual. But like I said, there's things that predate other things, and like I said, it goes all the way back to Babylon. So if you don't want to delve back to Babylon, then you won't come to the truth. You won't come to realization of certain other truths. And if you don't come to certain realization of other truths, you're going to be blind to certain things that you need to be, made aware of. So that's something that you wanted to state. And that's the thing. When we hear about Jesus the same today as yesterday, you do have people that, what's up, dog? You have people that wanted to say that certain other people were Jesus Christ, but they are different than the Jesus from yesterday. I mean? Like Nipsey Hussle, for instance. They want to associate Nipsey Hussle. I told you this before. They wanted to associate Nipsey Hussle with Jesus Christ, but Nipsey Hussle was a follower. How he was a follower is because he was a Crip. It means that he was following something that was already established. Jesus came from out of the crowd and became his own. He became a leader on his own because he came from out of something that was destructive. Now, if he didn't die, or he didn't, everything is Hollywood, so I don't believe none of this stuff. But if he was the cat came out of there, then you could probably be like, yo, son, that was kind of like, that was Christ-like, dog. He left from out of that gang and became a righteous person. But as long as he held on to the banner of this destructive street gang that has been causing hell and havoc on the streets since the 60s to this present day, to, I don't know whether it was 2003, 2002, whatever year it was, but to that same day, they still been wreaking havoc on the streets. Now, I mean, and you were still tied and associated with that. Yeah, nah. Jesus Christ ain't no follower, dog. He was a leader. He led. He had disciples. He had disciples. He wasn't no disciple of anything else. And that's the same thing with anybody else that want to say that they're that. They don't have the the persona and the personality of that. This, when you go into the movie, you would see Jihan. Jihan had um, the personality of a savior, of a person that came back to try to save. And as you see, it was people that once we tried to save them, they always turned on him. They would always turn on you because they have conflicting um, wants and desires. Like people still want to be saved, but they still want a piece of that that ball. They want to be saved, but they still want this. So if you're one that's telling them like, son, you don't need this. You don't need this at all, because the more you want this, the more they're going to have control over you. That's going to turn the people against you because they still want what's in here, even if it's was half of this, even if it was a third of it, they would still want it. So, they began to attack him, and this is what happens to anybody that try to save a people. They would always get attacked. They would always be amongst those that are attacked or mobbed on by people with the mob mentality. So you did see that they had two sides, red and blue. So everything is red and blue. Whether you're blood or Crip, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, whether you're a GD or a Vice Lord, whether you're whatever, it's still, red and blue. And you're at odds with each other. So this is what's red and blue, is the gang stalkers and those that are targeted. Those that are targeted have a certain persona that makes them not like gang stalkers, and the gang stalkers have a certain persona that makes them not be targeted but be amongst those that are mob on the targets, because the targets normally don't have the camaraderie that gang stalkers have. And the gang stalkers, like I said, because they all have something in common, they'll be able to mob together. And in this reality as well, like I said, they deal with groups. Is groupism. So with groupism, you'll have you got to be in a religious group. You have to be in this religious group, or you have to be in that religious group. You have to be in this gang. You have to be a part of this party. You have to be a part of that party, or else you'll be singled out. And as you stand alone, you are made prone to all sorts of attacks by groups. So, that's just, how, you understand the gang stalking, and targeting, just by realizing that, the Squid Games, it has, hold on, Squid Games, what is, let me check this out, but see it, circle, triangle, and square, circle, triangle, and square, and all of those shapes are made by the square and the compass, so the game is designed by Freemasons, so it's a Masonically designed game, and that's what the world is, a Masonic design game. And you're not doing that to throw no dirt or any kind of it's just shedding light as one that sees, and one that's supposed to shed light. That's what you're doing. That's what it is. The checkerboard, light and dark. This is the reason why you got the two particular dudes. He symbolizes light. He symbolizes dark. And then you got the backboard in the back. You got um, the crosses, the cross they put on the 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 caskets of the people that they kept alive for the organs. So everything is symbolism. Everything that you see in this world has some sort of symbolic meaning, and I just wanted to enlighten y'all on that, because a lot of people don't may have seen it and didn't put two and two together. And it might have went over a lot of people's head, but for me it didn't. I seen it and I said, hold on, these games, this is gang stalking. you know. But the thing was, you had to agree to it. In some instance, you had to agree to the program. So these are people that came into agreement with the program, you know. And you just wanted to elaborate on that, because maybe some people didn't see it, might need to see it, and it may be helpful to them to understand, like, son, this is a game that they're playing. You can opt out of it. You can opt out of the game, but then you have people that are still, headlong into the game, that's trying to win at all costs. And like I said, I see it online. I see it in my immediate circle of people that's willing to do any and everything, and when they do, um, um, they normally lose somebody in their family. A son. I've seen that on a few occasions. People that say they're looking for something, and then next thing you know, their son is gone. Then you have people that that'll show you their affiliation, but it's all online. And even with the ongoing stuff with Trump and Moderna, all that's still them. That's whatever his name is, Maduro. I said Moderna. Maduro. If you look at the pictures of Maduro, okay, they'll say because they say he looks like Saddam Hussein. Nah, nobody worrying about that. But what we do see is, when talking about him, you do see this, you do see that, you do see this. You know what I mean? You do see this, you do see this. You know what I mean? You see the pointing. You all see all this. That's them. There's no way around it. Don't y'all all do this? Don't y'all all do the peace sign? Nah, y'all don't all do the peace sign. Y'all don't. That's all this. So we do see symbolism. We do see pointing. We do see pointing. So we do know that this is all the same thing. It's all the same game. It's all the same game. If you don't want to believe that, then I don't know what to tell you. You want to look at Trump. See his hand. I mean, see Trump. See him pointing. I mean, see him pointing. We see y'all online too. We see everybody on YouTube. I mean, doing the pointing and stuff like that. We do see y'all. It's the same thing, man. Same exact thing. No different. No different. And no, nobody has to tell me this stuff. Like I said, some of us, some of us just know that we just know, you know. But whenever you see the pictures like this is the game being played. It's the game. It's the game. The thumbs up. Y'all know what it is, man. There you go. We seen Oprah Winfrey, what's this girl named Jennifer Hudson. We even seen the South Korean female Lin Ji-yoon. I mean, Lin Ji-young. So, and when you see her, you like, who is she? But whoever she is, she wins awards. She wins awards in South Korea. So we do know that. It's, all of this stuff is part of the game that's being played. And like I said, the game is over when the people say it's over, not when um, not when they decide to just stop it. No, they're not gonna stop this game. The game, when the people stop playing it, it's over with then. You know, but yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's one. Look at Lee Do Hwan. Look at Lee Do Hwan. You know, what's up with you guys? I said, what's up with you guys? But hey, man, I'm just one that comes with the light and shows certain things. That's all. You know. That's all. But yeah, like I said, we got the Squid game, got the Squid floor, you got the Masonic floor, you know, and you do have 9 players back here, and those 9 players symbolizes, you know what I mean? 333 equals 9, and at the last game, the person had to defeat number 333. He had to defeat him, and he was one that was trying to sacrifice the child. So this is all about child sacrifice and sacrifice of um, your fellow man, your neighbor. You know, so you know these are things that if you want to have a new existence, the old has to pass away. And like I said, these are the old. These are tactics of the old. These are ancient practices that have to come to an end. And like I said, as long as there's poverty, there's people that are willing to do anything to improve their conditions. And then you have people that, like me, I'm not one that cares about any riches. So you'll be in the program, but you're not willing to do what they're willing to do for the program. Your whole objective is, to put an end to the program, or change the program. Like I said, make the program do something else, do something different, because they're not, like I said, they're not just gonna up and just leave. So this is you being realistic about what this is, but they can, clean their hands up. This is what they can do, and I believe that's what um, the guy did at the end. He started to do certain good things. He took the guy's money and gave it to his daughter. He didn't have to do any of that. He didn't have to do that. And as he was driving away in a whole nother country, the same thing was going on. They playing Dachi in the alley, and he seen rolled down his window. He looked at the woman. She was just nodding her head like, yeah, son, the game still goes on. So 9 times out of 10, there'll be another Squid game. Like I said, it was a pretty good, it was a good viewing. I liked it. Like all this stuff is genius in its creation. These are good storylines. These are good um, things. Even games, you see that on the floor in there, so you know that this is them associated with these games in there. So games that I play like contractors, games you play like Ghost of Tabor. You already know that this is them. They're a part of this, and like I stated, this is a certain. After you get to a certain level of in this world, you have to go through them in order to go further. This is just something. This is just the way it is because they're the ones that's up there, or they're the ones that's designing everything. and you'll have some that surpass them, like the VIPs, and they're still that too, but they're the ones that everything is designed for. So if you haven't checked it out, I suggest you go and check it out, because it's, it's eye opening. It's eye opening. It's eye opening. It is eye opening. You know. So yeah. Oh, for that piggy bank. Tell them what they'll do for the paper. But and that's the thing. Like I said, I had a brother. My brother, he's don't have no. What do he do? I'm not sure what he doesn't have. No skill. No talent. My cousin either. None of them have any talent that'll make them millionaires. You know, and you're listening to what's not being said as to what's being said. He was saying that he's going to be a millionaire in progress. But what are you? What skill set do you have that's going to give you this? You don't. First and foremost, you're not a lottery player. You don't play the lottery. Um, you're not a rapper or a producer. You know what I mean? You don't really have any skill set that's going to, what's going to bring you in these millions, and he, when you got to the computer, like I said, his computer had broke and I had to go fix it. And then when I'm on the computer, you start seeing his interest in owl tattoos, owl neck tattoos, owl. Like, the owl gang is them. They're associated with the owl, and that's when the originator of the program. They had masks. The originator of the program had an owl mask. Everybody else had different masks, but the originator of the program had an owl mask. So we do know that these are people that signed up for, this particular thing, like my family, and just recently my cousin was trying to see where I was at and trying to come and chop it up with me, and dog, don't nobody want to be around y'all. I already know everything about y'all, know everything about y'all already, you know, you know what y'all try to do, or what y'all signed up to do, what y'all signed up to be a part of, you know. But yeah, most people that have signed, y'all should be ashamed of yourself, you should be, you know. And like I said, it's not too late, man, for y'all to you know what I mean, to clean your hands up, It's not too late. It's not too late, because some of us got the authority to forgive. So if y'all come and seek forgiveness, some of y'all can be forgiven. And that's just how it goes. That's just how that works. If you don't believe that, then you're going to be burdened to that, and that's going to be persistent, for however long. It's going to be something that you're going to have to deal with, and you don't understand that this ain't it. This life is not it. Some people have to answer to certain things, beyond this reality, and you don't. I'm not saying nothing about that, but like I stated, my cat, dog has clean hands, the dog has clean hands because he hasn't been outside, so he's been sheltered and protected from any and all ills, and not to say that he wouldn't want to, and do anything, but he hasn't ever been put in a position to, so that's just what it is, you know. Yep. So I know I didn't want to, beat y'all down about, the program, but this was something that I just recently seen that, um, it could be beneficial to both gang stalkers and targets alike. You know, these are corrupt people that want to see how corrupt you are as well. There's also another movie. I think it's called Hunger, where they put people inside of this little maze or inside of a room, and they was watching them. They kept an eye on them, and then they kept food away from them. And let me see if that's the name of it. No, this ain't it right here. It's another one. But now it's a few movies called Hunger. But the dude was he kidnapped people and put them in you know a tight spot where he deprived them of food but left them water. And in order for them to survive, he wanted to see if they would eat each other. And the reason why he wanted to see if they would eat each other because um, something that he did when he was a child. They crashed. He was in a car crash, and no one was coming to help them. So he was still alive, and I believe his mother had passed away. So he had to eat his mother in order for him to live. You know. So he would eat pieces of. I know it's graphic, but this is just what it is. Let me see if this is it. Yep. To this one right here. Yep. It's this movie. It's the one from 2009. Uh, um, 5 strangers struggle when a madman imprisons them in an underground dungeon in this nail-biting horror. Uh, so they was imprisoned. I wanted to give you the sign. Hunger is a dark exploration into the breakdown of humanity. How far would you go to survive in the most extreme circumstances? It's all about, what humans would do in order for them to survive. If you don't have any food, would you eat your fellow human? You know, well, that's what, this particular person did. He didn't have access to, food, so he ate his fellow human. So let me play this experiment on this group of people. Would they do the same thing I did in that circumstance, or would they find a means of escape? And, you know, let's see how far they're willing to go. So that's the same thing with the Squid Games. What obstacles that are put in front of you are you willing to overcome in order for you to achieve success, in order for you to achieve financial freedom? So that's what a lot of people's primary concern with is financial freedom. They don't care nothing about changing the program. They care more about financial freedom. So that's what when I see a lot of people that's in certain religions and they don't have any kind of concern about the conditions of the world or humanity, and their primary concern is financial freedom. I see these people as part of the program. Part of the program of you know just that's just what it is. They're part of it, and like I stated, everybody is. Everybody is, except for those that has the spirit or the soul that cannot be a part of it. And for the most part, I'm one of them. I'm one of those people that simply can't. And the thing about that is, they know that you're not even supposed to be in any kind of program. You're supposed to be sheltered from that, because the world is a wicked place, and it's wicked by design like that. And if they know that these things are um, um, not frowned upon by humanity, then why are you being who you are amongst the people like that? You know, you know what I'm saying? And being that they know that you can voice your opinion about it, then they should be more reluctant um, to uh, to do anything, or they should yield to it, whatever it is that you foresee and what you understand, because it brings a new reality to the situation, you know. So, uh, so that's about, you know, that's about all I wanted to share, man.